Hi, today we're going to talk about settings in fairy tales, and we're going to look at a fairy tale we're probably all familiar with called Jack and the Beanstalk. First, let's talk about things that we need to remember about the setting. What is the setting? The setting is where the story or the event takes place. So if we know it's where certain events take place, then we know that the setting can change throughout the story. We can go from one setting to the next. The setting includes the time frame in which something happens, so when it happens and how long it happens. So we already read Jack and the Beanstalk, but I'm going to reread some certain passages, and we're going to take a closer look at some of the settings in Jack and the Beanstalk. So what I want you to do right now is I want you to close your eyes, and as I read, I want you to picture what the author is saying in your head and see if you can get a really good picture. So everybody close your eyes and listen carefully. Once upon a time, a boy named Jack lived with his mother on a farm. They were so poor they had barely enough food for themselves or their cow Betsy. Okay, I want you to open your eyes. I want you to think about how this story opens. What are you picturing in your head? Raise your hand if you have a picture in your head. Okay, good. Now I want you to go back to your seat. I have a white piece of paper waiting for you, and on the front side, I want you to draw how you think the story opens. What does it look like? Go ahead and do that now. Okay, guys, remember this is just a quick sketch, so you have about 25 more seconds. Okay, and freeze. Everybody come back to the rug. We're going to look at our next setting in Jack and the Beanstalk. Quickly, come over. Okay, so again, I want everybody to close your eyes. As I read, I want you to really think about what the author is saying and have a picture in your mind about what this looks like. All right, here we go. When he woke up the next morning, his room was in a shadow. Before his eyes was the biggest, tallest beanstalk he had ever seen in his life. The beanstalk reached all the way to the sky. Up he went, ever thinking he was almost to the top. But the beanstalk towered above everything, even the most distant hills. Climbing and climbing, Jack continued upward. At last he reached the top. The branches leveled off and formed a wide road. In the distance, Jack saw the towers of a great castle. If the magic was really magic, he might find something wonderful there to bring to his mother to make up for the beans. Okay, open your eyes. What were you picturing as I reread some of the story? I want you to go back to your desks, flip over your page, and I want you to draw a picture of this setting for me. Ready? Go ahead. About 30 more seconds. Okay, freeze. I want you to turn and talk to your neighbor. I want you guys to talk about what did you draw in the first setting and what did you draw in the second setting. You should have one picture on the front and one picture on the back. Now, I know it's just rough sketches and you guys probably want to add a bunch of color and details, but I just want you to talk about the main things that you drew. Why did you draw it? And what language from the story helped you imagine the setting? So turn and talk for 30 seconds. All right, I heard some great discussions. Now let's talk as a group. What are some of the things you noticed that people around you, your neighbor, people in the class drew from our settings? Okay. Did anybody have a farm? Good. That's probably what you drew on the first page was a farm because that's what we gathered where Jack and his mother lived with their cow, Bessie. Now, did anybody draw a big, tall beanstalk? Good. Everybody should have at least something about the beanstalk on their page. Who drew a castle? Great. We know that that castle was up in those clouds at the very tip top of that beanstalk. So some of you might have included the wide road that led up to the towers of the castle in the clouds. Some of you might have shown me that if you looked over the edge, you saw that this castle and these clouds were way up above the hills. Very good job. I see some awesome pictures. Now, let's talk about how did the setting change? The story started off on a farm and then it moved up into the clouds in a huge castle that was at the top of a very tall beanstalk. You notice that the setting went from a typical place, which we know is maybe a farm or just a house, to a magical or mythical place, which was the castle that was on top of the beanstalk up in those clouds. So we noticed some good descriptive language going on about the settings in this particular fairy tale. You guys did a great job. You can go back to your seats, and if you want to add some color to your pictures, you can go ahead and do that, and we're going to wrap up for today.